Some of these conspiracies are wild, unsettling, and highly speculative. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. The Silent City refers to reports of a mysterious metropolis that occasionally appears as a mirage above the Muir Glacier in Alaska, first documented by prospectors and native Alaskans in the late 19th century. Multiple witnesses described seeing detailed images of a foreign-looking city with Oriental architecture, complete with towers, streets, and trees, all clearly visible despite the remote Arctic location. Scientific studies of atmospheric conditions around glaciers have shown that complex light refraction patterns can create superior mirages, known as fata morgana, capable of projecting distant images with extraordinary clarity. L.B. French, an early explorer, provided detailed sketches of the phenomenon in 1889, depicting architectural styles similar to those found in ancient Asian cities, despite having no prior knowledge of such designs. Tlingit tribal histories contain accounts of a hidden city that appears and disappears in the glacier region, describing it as a gateway between worlds that becomes visible under specific atmospheric conditions. Photographic evidence of the Silent City emerged in 1887, when a Canadian prospector captured what appeared to be buildings and streets hovering above the ice, though the original plates were later lost. Modern radar surveys of the Muir Glacier have detected unusual hollow spaces and geometric patterns within the ice, leading some researchers to suggest the possibility of preserved structures beneath the glacier. Genus Locii represents the belief that certain locations possess a distinct consciousness or spiritual essence, capable of interacting with and influencing human visitors. Ancient Roman texts describe specific rituals for communicating with these place spirits, suggesting they viewed them as literal entities rather than mere metaphors. Documented cases from the 19th century detail multiple unrelated individuals experiencing identical visions, emotions, or compulsions when visiting specific locations, particularly ancient ruins and sacred sites. Modern electromagnetic field studies have detected unusual patterns of energy in locations historically associated with Genus Locii, showing measurable differences from surrounding areas. Archaeological evidence reveals that ancient cultures across different continents built structures specifically designed to channel and communicate with the spirit of the location, using similar architectural principles despite no known contact. Psychological research has identified consistent patterns in how different people respond to certain environments, with some locations triggering identical emotional and physiological responses across diverse test subjects. Environmental scientists have discovered that some locations maintain unique ecological conditions that persist despite changes in surrounding areas, suggesting an underlying organizing intelligence in the landscape. Native cultures worldwide independently developed sophisticated practices for identifying and working with Genus Locii, creating detailed maps of power spots that often correlate with unusual geological or electromagnetic features. The discovery of ritualistic arrangements and carefully positioned artifacts in Neanderthal burial sites suggests they may have practiced an early form of organized religion centered around animal spirits and celestial worship. Archaeological evidence from sites like La Ferracie in France shows collections of cave bear skulls deliberately arranged in geometric patterns, potentially indicating ceremonial significance and structured belief systems. Analysis of ochre pigments and carved symbols found near Neanderthal remains points to the possibility of body painting and symbolic expression during religious ceremonies, with some scientists theorizing these practices were tied to seasonal changes and hunting rituals. Multiple cave sites across Europe contain traces of what appears to be organized gathering spaces, with hearths positioned in ways that could have facilitated group ceremonies, suggesting communal spiritual practices dating back over 50,000 years. Researchers studying Neanderthal brain development have noted that their neural structure would have been capable of abstract thinking and symbolic reasoning, supporting the possibility that they developed complex spiritual beliefs similar to early Homo sapiens. The placement of flowers and tools in Neanderthal graves, as found in Shanidar Cave in Iraq, indicates they may have held beliefs about an afterlife and practiced funeral rites involving offerings to the deceased. Biblical scholars studying ancient Gnostic texts have uncovered alternative interpretations, suggesting Judas Iscariot was actually Jesus' most trusted disciple, specifically chosen for the divine role of facilitating Christ's sacrifice. The Gospel of Judas, discovered in the 1970s in Egypt, describes secret conversations between Jesus and Judas, indicating Jesus actually instructed Judas to turn him in, making Judas's actions a crucial part of God's divine plan. Ancient manuscripts suggest Judas might have been the only disciple to truly understand Jesus' mission, with his betrayal being an act of supreme loyalty rather than treachery, ensuring Jesus' sacrifice would fulfill biblical prophecy. Several early Christian sects believed Judas was himself divine, possibly sharing a bloodline with Jesus, and that his actions were predetermined by God to enable humanity's salvation. The concept of Judas as a divine figure aligns with certain interpretations of Jesus' words at the Last Supper, where he tells Judas, "What you are about to do, do quickly," potentially indicating foreknowledge and divine purpose. Theological analysis of Judas's surname Iscariot has led some researchers to connect it with successor, or chosen one, in ancient Aramaic, suggesting a possible hereditary or divine designation. The 30 pieces of silver, traditionally seen as payment for betrayal, have been interpreted by some scholars as symbolic of divine authority, representing a transfer of power rather than a bribe. Ancient cave paintings discovered in South America depict a massive flying creature with distinctive characteristics that don't match any known pterosaur species, including petal-like appendages around its head and an unusually long, segmented tail. Multiple indigenous tribes across Peru and Bolivia share oral histories describing a nocturnal flying creature that releases a sweet-smelling mist, causing disorientation and vivid visions in those who encounter it. The creature's name derives from the datura plant, as witnesses report similar psychoactive effects to those caused by the plant's toxins after encounters with the being. Fossil fragments found in the Andes Mountains during the 19th century show evidence of hollow bones similar to pterosaurs, but with unique structural properties that suggest adaptation to high-altitude flight in low-oxygen conditions. Local legends describe the creature as being most active during full moons and having the ability to hover motionless in the air, behaviors not typically associated with known prehistoric flying reptiles. Several unexplained mass animal deaths in remote Andean regions have been attributed to this creature, with deceased livestock showing unusual circular markings and traces of an unidentified alkaloid compound in their systems. Archaeological expeditions in the 1970s uncovered ceremonial objects depicting a winged entity with distinctive flower-like features, dating back several thousand years and spanning multiple pre-Columbian cultures. The Vatican secret archives allegedly contain film reels from the 1950s, showing what appears to be glimpses of paradise captured through an experimental device combining prayer amplification and early video recording technology. Several former Vatican employees have described seeing footage of ethereal gardens, beings of light, and architectural structures that seem to defy physical laws, all captured using a machine developed by a team of Catholic scientists and mystics. Documents leaked in the 1980s detail a classified project called Operation Divine Lens, which utilized modified military cameras blessed by high-ranking clergy and exposed to concentrated prayer energy during religious ceremonies. Multiple witnesses within the church hierarchy have reported that the footage exhibits impossible physical properties, such as film that remains at a constant temperature, regardless of external conditions, and images that appear differently to each viewer. The project was supposedly shut down after several researchers experienced intense religious episodes and unexplained physical transformations while attempting to enhance the recording equipment. Ancient papal documents reference similar attempts to capture images of the divine realm using various methods throughout history, suggesting this was not the first time the Vatican attempted such documentation. Certain sections of the Vatican's underground vaults are said to be permanently climate-controlled, specifically to preserve these unique film reels, which allegedly emit a faint glow and cause electronic equipment to malfunction in their presence. Nordic aliens, often described as tall humanoids with blonde hair and blue eyes, were allegedly engineered by hostile extraterrestrial forces as infiltration agents, designed specifically to exploit human trust through their familiar and appealing appearance. Several UFO researchers have documented cases where these beings demonstrated unusually advanced psychological manipulation abilities, suggesting artificial enhancement for the purpose of human deception. Declassified military documents from the 1960s mention encounters with entities matching Nordic alien descriptions who could seamlessly integrate into human society while gathering intelligence on military installations. Ancient Sumerian texts contain references to fair-skinned star beings who brought both knowledge and destruction, potentially describing early Nordic alien infiltration attempts. Multiple witness accounts describe Nordic aliens displaying inconsistent behavior patterns and emotional responses, suggesting artificial programming rather than natural development. Reports from alleged contactees note that Nordic aliens often appear in groups of exactly 3, following precise behavioral protocols that seem more mechanical than organic, indicating possible artificial origin. DNA analysis of supposed Nordic alien biological samples has revealed unusual genetic structures that combine both natural and apparently engineered elements, supporting the theory of their artificial creation. Underground military facilities have reportedly documented instances of Nordic aliens temporarily losing their human appearance during moments of stress, revealing a more artificial underlying form. Historical records from the 18th century show unexplained patterns of lights and aerial phenomena across northern Europe, coinciding with the early development of racial theories and white supremacist ideologies. Several prominent early race theorists had documented encounters with unexplained beings and craft, leading some researchers to suggest these experiences influenced their development of white racial superiority concepts. Coded messages found in early supremacist writings contain repeated references to stellar origins and celestial bloodlines, potentially indicating knowledge of extraterrestrial activity being obscured through racial rhetoric. Military archives reveal that regions with the strongest white supremacist movements often overlapped with areas of intense UFO activity, suggesting a possible coordinated effort to redirect attention from alien presence. Ancient Nordic texts describing gods with advanced technology were deliberately reinterpreted in the 19th century to support racial theories, potentially masking genuine accounts of extraterrestrial contact. Analysis of early supremacist organizations' private documents shows unusual interest in astronomical events and remote northern European locations known for frequent UFO sightings. Multiple instances of supremacist groups actively discouraging investigation of lights and aerial phenomena in European regions have been documented, suggesting organized efforts to maintain focus on racial narratives instead of unexplained activities. Government files indicate that several prominent white supremacist leaders in the early 20th century had unexplained gaps in their personal histories, coinciding with major UFO flaps across Europe. Ancient Greek astronomers theorized the existence of a counter-Earth called Anticthon, a hidden planet that eternally moves in perfect opposition to Earth around a central fire, remaining forever invisible to us. Followers of Pythagoras developed complex mathematical models showing how this counter-Earth could maintain perfect orbital harmony while remaining perpetually hidden behind the sun. The concept gained support from observations of unusual gravitational effects and orbital perturbations that seem to suggest the presence of an unseen celestial body. Historical astronomical records from multiple ancient civilizations contain references to a dark companion, or shadow world, that moves in perfect synchronization with Earth. Some modern astronomical calculations suggest that a planet-sized object could theoretically maintain a stable orbit at Earth's L3 Lagrange point, precisely where ancient Greeks placed Anticthon. Several unexplained gravitational anomalies detected during space missions in the 1970s led some scientists to briefly revisit the possibility of an object at Earth's L3 point. Ancient Greek texts describe Anticthon as a perfect mirror of Earth, complete with its own inhabitants, suggesting early understanding of orbital mechanics and planetary formation. Astronomical instruments from ancient Greece show specific modifications that could have been designed to detect indirect evidence of Anticthon's gravitational influence. Animal linguistic studies have revealed that many species possess far more advanced vocal capabilities than previously thought, with physical structures capable of producing complex speech patterns similar to human language. Brain scans of various mammals show neural pathways associated with advanced communication that remain deliberately inactive during human interaction, suggesting a conscious choice to maintain communication barriers. Research conducted in the 1980s documented instances of parrots and primates using human language in private settings, only to revert to typical animal sounds when researchers entered their environment. Ancient texts from multiple cultures describe a time when humans and animals spoke the same language, potentially indicating a historical shift in animal communication choices rather than mere folklore. Anatomical studies of dolphins, elephants, and certain primates show they possess unused physical structures that could theoretically enable human-like speech production. Multiple wildlife researchers have reported capturing audio recordings of animals producing human-like phonemes during isolated moments when they believed themselves to be unobserved. Genetic analysis has revealed that many animals possess intact but dormant genes associated with complex vocalization, suggesting a deliberate suppression rather than an inability to speak. Several isolated indigenous tribes maintain that certain animals speak to them in human language when no outsiders are present, ceasing immediately upon the arrival of unfamiliar humans. Multiple astronomers and monks in Canterbury, England documented observing the upper half of the moon suddenly burst into flames and split apart on June 18, 1178, an event corroborated by similar observations across Europe. Scientific analysis suggests this event may have been caused by a massive asteroid impact on the lunar surface, creating the 22-kilometer-wide crater Giordano Bruno, whose formation timeline matches the medieval accounts. Geological studies of moon rocks returned during the Apollo missions show evidence of a significant impact event occurring during the 12th century, aligning with the timing of the Canterbury observation. Chinese astronomical records from the same period describe the moon appearing to break apart like a mirror during the summer months of 1178, providing independent verification from a different hemisphere. Magnetic anomalies detected around the Giordano Bruno crater indicate a relatively recent formation compared to other lunar impact sites, supporting the medieval dating of its creation. Modern computer simulations demonstrate that an asteroid impact of sufficient size could have created a temporary appearance of the moon splitting, matching the historical descriptions of flames and separation. Debris patterns around the Giordano Bruno crater show unique characteristics consistent with a high-energy impact occurring within the last 1,000 years, rather than the more ancient origins of most lunar craters. Analysis of human skeletal remains from pre-agricultural societies shows significantly better health, stronger bones, and fewer signs of malnutrition compared to remains from after the adoption of farming. The emergence of agriculture led to the first evidence of widespread tooth decay, arthritis, and bone deformities in human populations, marking the beginning of numerous chronic health conditions that persist today. Archaeological data indicates that hunter-gatherer societies worked only 15 to 20 hours per week to meet their basic needs, while early agricultural communities required significantly more labor time, leading to the first documented instances of systematic human exploitation. The transition to agriculture created the first examples of wealth inequality, social hierarchies, and organized warfare, as evidenced by grave goods and defensive structures appearing in the archaeological record. Studies of ancient DNA reveal that the shift to farming resulted in a significant reduction in human genetic diversity, suggesting that agricultural practices may have created evolutionary bottlenecks in human development. The advent of agriculture led to the first documented instances of zoonotic diseases jumping from domesticated animals to humans, creating the conditions for later pandemics and chronic illnesses. Environmental analysis shows that early agricultural practices led to the first instances of large-scale deforestation, soil degradation, and water pollution, setting precedents for environmental destruction that continue to accelerate. Linguistic research suggests that concepts of ownership, debt, and social status first emerged in human languages following the development of agricultural societies, indicating fundamental changes in human psychology and social organization. A group of theorists in the 1960s proposed that paranormal phenomena and supernatural occurrences were actually manifestations of class consciousness breaking through the fabric of capitalist reality. Analysis of historical ghost sightings revealed that supernatural encounters increased dramatically during periods of intense class struggle and labor unrest, suggesting a connection between spectral activity and proletarian resistance. Documents from early communist movements show that many organizers interpreted poltergeist activity and spontaneous fires as physical manifestations of working-class energy disrupting bourgeois spaces. Research into the relationship between UFO sightings and industrial centers indicated that mysterious aerial phenomena appeared more frequently above factories and mining operations during periods of labor organization. Several Marxist philosophers developed frameworks suggesting that psychic abilities and telepathy represented the emergence of collective consciousness among oppressed workers, breaking free from capitalist individualism. Studies of cryptozoological sightings demonstrated that reports of mysterious creatures peaked during times of economic crisis, potentially representing the materialization of class antagonisms into physical form. Archaeological evidence from worker settlements shows unusual electromagnetic readings and unexplained material anomalies, interpreted as residual energy from moments of heightened class consciousness. Multiple accounts from 19th century factory workers describe shared visions and mass supernatural experiences during strikes, suggesting a link between collective action and paranormal manifestation. The realm of forms exists as a perfect dimension of pure thought and ideal versions of all things, with our physical world serving only as an imperfect shadow of this higher plane of existence. Archaeological evidence suggests ancient Greek temples were designed with specific geometric proportions meant to align with and channel energy from this realm of perfect forms. Mathematical discoveries throughout history have revealed patterns that appear to exist independently of human observation, suggesting a pre-existing realm where perfect mathematical truths reside. Near-death experiences frequently include reports of encountering a realm of pure geometric forms and perfect concepts, matching Plato's descriptions of the higher dimension. Studies of human brain development show that infants possess innate understanding of basic geometric shapes and mathematical concepts, potentially indicating knowledge carried over from previous exposure to the realm of forms. Ancient meditation techniques specifically designed to access this realm have been found in texts across multiple civilizations, suggesting widespread awareness of its existence. Modern quantum physics experiments have demonstrated that abstract mathematical structures appear to underlie all of physical reality, supporting the concept of a higher realm of pure forms. Several documented cases of mathematical savants have described accessing a dimension of perfect numbers and shapes, closely matching Plato's descriptions from thousands of years ago. The mass extinction of dinosaurs has been linked by some researchers and ancient astronaut theorists to extraterrestrial beings conducting deliberate extinction events, rather than the commonly accepted asteroid impact theory. Evidence cited includes the precise timing of the extinction, which eliminated specific species while allowing others to survive, suggesting a calculated extermination rather than random destruction from a natural disaster. Several unusually advanced stone carvings and artifacts from ancient civilizations appear to depict creatures resembling dinosaurs alongside what appear to be spacecraft or beings in protective suits, leading some to believe these were records of witnessed events passed down through generations. Ancient texts from multiple cultures reference sky gods arriving to reshape the earth, with some interpretations suggesting these accounts describe the systematic removal of large creatures to prepare the planet for future habitation. Geological studies have revealed traces of elements not typically found on Earth in the layers marking the end of the Cretaceous period, which some interpret as evidence of advanced weapons rather than asteroid debris. The speed and selectiveness of the extinction event, which eliminated approximately 75% of plant and animal species while leaving others completely unharmed, aligns more closely with a controlled extinction program than the global climate catastrophe that would result from an asteroid impact. Certain locations show evidence of precise geometric patterns in fossil arrangements and extinction timing that some researchers argue are too ordered to have occurred naturally, suggesting an orchestrated event rather than chaotic destruction. Eating disorders can manifest as organized social movements where individuals gather online or in person to actively promote and encourage disordered eating behaviors. Several underground communities formed in the early 21st century that developed their own rituals, language, and belief systems around food restriction and body modification. These groups often maintain that extreme thinness represents a higher state of consciousness and spiritual purity. Members share detailed food journals, fasting schedules, and weight loss methods while participating in structured accountability systems. Some eating disorder cults incorporate elements of ancient ascetic practices and religious fasting traditions to justify their extreme dietary restrictions. Historical records show similar communities emerging periodically throughout history, particularly in medieval convents where self-starvation was viewed as a path to divine enlightenment. Digital platforms enabled these groups to establish complex hierarchies and initiation rites, with senior members taking on mentor roles to guide newcomers through progressively restrictive eating patterns. Many groups maintain that hunger produces altered mental states that allow access to deeper spiritual truths. Research into these communities has revealed sophisticated philosophical frameworks linking food restriction to concepts of purity, transcendence, and escape from societal constraints. Members often report experiencing intense feelings of belonging and understanding within these groups that they cannot find elsewhere. The isolation and secretive nature of these communities makes them particularly resistant to intervention, as members view outside concern as a threat to their shared beliefs and practices. Some groups have developed elaborate systems of signals and codes to identify fellow members while avoiding detection. The theory that gray aliens originated as an advanced evolutionary branch of dolphins suggests that an ancient cetacean species developed enhanced intelligence and eventually moved onto land, adapting their bodies for terrestrial and space travel over millions of years. Supporters point to the streamlined hydrodynamic shape of gray alien bodies and their large dark eyes as evidence of aquatic origins, noting similarities to modern dolphin anatomy and sensory organs. Ancient astronaut researchers have identified multiple underwater structures and alleged spacecraft launch sites that could indicate an advanced civilization emerging from Earth's oceans, rather than arriving from another planet. The extraordinarily high intelligence of modern dolphins, their complex language abilities, and their sophisticated sonar capabilities are cited as proof that cetaceans could potentially evolve into technological beings. Brain size comparisons between dolphins and gray aliens show similar proportions relative to body size, while both species demonstrate advanced social structures and apparent telepathic abilities. Several indigenous cultures maintain legends of intelligent beings emerging from the seas to teach humans various technologies, potentially describing early encounters with these evolved cetaceans. The theory provides an explanation for why gray aliens seem particularly interested in Earth's oceans and water resources, as they may be monitoring the evolution of their genetic ancestors. Documented cases of gray aliens operating underwater bases and vehicles suggest a natural affinity for aquatic environments that could stem from their evolutionary history. British Petroleum allegedly possesses technology capable of accelerating the natural process of organic matter decomposition into fossil fuels, using devices that manipulate localized time fields to age living tissue by millions of years instantaneously. Several disappearances near BP facilities have been linked by investigators to unusual electromagnetic readings and temporal anomalies that could indicate the presence of time-distorting equipment. Documents leaked from within BP reference Project Chronoleum, a classified research initiative focused on artificial fossil fuel generation through temporal manipulation of organic matter. Former BP employees have reported witnessing strange incidents where living organisms rapidly decomposed into oil-like substances within secured facility areas, leaving behind only trace minerals typically found in fossil fuel deposits. The company's unexplained ability to locate and access new oil reserves with remarkable precision could be explained by their capacity to manufacture oil through temporal acceleration rather than traditional extraction methods. Geological surveys near BP drilling sites have revealed inexplicable patterns of accelerated fossil formation that don't match natural decomposition timeframes, suggesting artificial manipulation of organic decay processes. Multiple whistleblowers describe underground facilities where temporal field generators convert organic material into crude oil through controlled time dilation, allowing BP to maintain oil supplies without relying solely on natural deposits. Environmental researchers have detected unusual carbon dating inconsistencies in soil samples taken near BP refineries, indicating possible temporal disturbances affecting the age of organic materials in these areas.